Hey guys, welcome into College Sportscast. This is going to be our GameDay Pick'em, and this is Brad. I have John Hammonds, John
So,
Roberts, and Mason Cross with me tonight. And each week we pick 12 games, and kind of the 12 what we think is the biggest games of the week. And we use the spreads, and we pick winners.
yes,
And
sir.
so, are you guys ready to pick some winners this week? How'd y'all do last week? Anybody
I
know?
didn't do too good last week.
I picked losers.
You picked losers.
I didn't do too good. I was just taking a week off, though, I think.
I was 7-5. I
You were
think.
7-5. Well, that's at least a winning record.
You okay?
I mean, it's not like stellar or nothing, but you can say if people followed you, they might have won a little money at 7-5, maybe. All right. So one other thing that I want to tell everybody right off the bat. So we're giving away some tickets, 2 tickets to the Final Four for next season, this coming season, in April in Houston. So each and every episode after this episode, we'll do a quick Facebook Live and do a keyword. Anybody that jumps on, and here's the keyword, can comment, and we'll enter you in to win these tickets. We're going to do this all year long, all season long. We'll probably have the drawing sometime in March, close to when March Madness begins. So
Probably about the 1st of March, maybe.
yeah, sometime in March, around the
Uh-huh.
when March Madness kind of begins sometime.
Yeah, first week of March, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So anybody that jumps on, when we do a live podcast, we will do the keyword right here, but this is a recording. So after this, we'll do a Facebook Live. So we'll start with that, and then we'll get into the games. John Hammonds, I think the first game we're going to talk about is Wake Forest and Louisville. And what's the spread on that game?
I think it was 3.5, I believe. Yeah, it's 3.5. Wake
And
Forest Louisville.
it's at Louisville, right?
It's at Louisville, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right. So give us a little tidbit and prediction on this game.
I like Wake Forest in this game. Wake Forest doesn't turn the ball over a lot. So their offense is going to do what they do. I think the Cardinals defense, they'll be okay at times, especially on third downs. But I just don't think their offense will be able to keep up with what Sam Hartman and Wake Forest does. I do think that this will be a shootout with Wake Forest covering. I believe they'll cover the spread, the 3.5. I think it'll be closer just because it's at Louisville. And, this is a game that has always been kind of neat to watch, and they're always tight.
What's
So
Louisville's current record?
they're 4-3, I think.
4-3.
In the Louisville's defense, they've been good at times, but they haven't really played anybody. You know what I'm saying? They played Syracuse, but and we saw last week Syracuse almost beat Clemson, but Syracuse at times is inconsistent, I think, especially offensively. Their defense is really good, but Louisville, just beyond Syracuse, they haven't really played a really good team, to be honest. So I'm going to have Wake Forest covering the spread.
All right. Mason, you want to go second tonight?
Why, sure. I'm going to go Wake Forest on this one. I like their offense a little bit better. I agree. I think it's going to be a shootout. But, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think they're going to pull it off, and I think they're going to cover.
All right. Drink local B-ham. That's what I'm going to call you tonight, all right?
Sweet. I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna pile on. and create the trifecta here, and we will go with Wake Forest.
With Wake Forest?
That's right.
All right. Well, I'll join everybody else. So we'll make it
And then our Wolfpack, it grew by 1.
Yeah, we'll make it a superfecta. In case y'all don't know what that is. Anyways, so we'll go Wake Forest, and I think they'll cover as well. I know Louisville is playing a little better than what they started the season out, and they won a game last week against Pitt that I think early in the year they probably would have lost. So they are playing better, but I still am going to give the edge to Sam Hartman and Wake Forest in this game. Our next game we're going to talk about is kind of one of those crossover games of the ACC. Notre Dame's not technically in the ACC in football, but it's Notre Dame at Syracuse. Do you know the spread on this one, John Hammonds?
It's 2.5 Syracuse.
2.5. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And it's at Syracuse, is that right?
It is.
Yeah.
The Irish are pretty good on the road. The problem is their running game won't be able to do much against the Syracuse defense. And I think the Orange do a nice job of controlling the clock, and and they're returning back home where they're really good. So I'm going to take Syracuse this weekend. I believe they'll cover the spread. I just don't think Notre Dame has enough weapons to beat this Syracuse team.
Well, I mean, Syracuse played pretty good last week. They led pretty much
They
the
did.
entire game.
I agree, but Syracuse to me, even though they're 6-1,
Right.
they're still inconsistent at times. They've had to come back 2 or 3 games to win games.
Yeah.
In the late minutes, so they're really inconsistent. But
they lost their one game in the last 8 or 10 minutes too.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I just don't think Notre Dame will be able to do much, especially against this Orange defense. This defense is really good.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Mason, what say you on this Notre Dame Syracuse game?
I want to pick Syracuse really bad, but coming off of a loss, I don't think Freeman can afford to lose this game. I mean, if we're just going to get down to it.
What's Notre Dame's record?
4-3.
4-3.
4-3. Okay.
And that is kind of unheard of for Notre Dame football, at least for a little while.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to go Notre Dame on this one. I don't really know why. Like Hammonds has said, Syracuse is really inconsistent, but I'm going to go Notre Dame on this one. Just going to trust my gut.
Okay. Drink Local BM. That's his Twitter handle, by the way. So that's why I'm calling him that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will go with the orange is a good color. We'll go Syracuse.
Well, I'm not so sure about your last statement before that, but anyways.
John Hammonds knows where that just came from. So.
We'll discuss that a little later down this list. Anyways.
We sure will.
So you're going Syracuse. I think that's where I'm going to go as well. I'm with Mason. My gut tells me to pick Notre Dame, but my head and what I've seen this season and what I watched last week with Syracuse and Clemson tells me to pick Syracuse. So I'm going to take Syracuse and take the 2.5 in this game, I think. So our next game, we're going to the Big Ten. And we got Ohio State at Penn State. Now, I don't know. What's the spread in this game? We'll start with that.
It's 14.5 Ohio State.
14.5. Okay, so
You know, I'll say this.
Penn
When
State has not won very many games against Ohio State in the last 10 years. Like one, I think.
when Penn State runs the ball, they're hard to stop. You know, they're averaging 5.89 yards per carry in their wins over Ohio, Auburn, and Central Michigan, Minnesota, but only 3.83 yards in close calls to Purdue and Northwestern, and the loss to Michigan. So when Penn State does what they do on offense, run the football, it makes life a lot easier for Sean Clifford.
Well, I think they're going to have to do that against
They're
Ohio
going to
State.
have to run the ball because that's when they're at their best. But Ohio State's defense is really, really good this year.
It
And I
is.
think
They're
the
ranked second in
Buckeyes
the country right now.
and I think the Buckeyes will limit what Penn State does. And but on the other side of the token, I also think Penn State matches up better with Ohio State on the defensive side too. And this could be a game where Ohio has to go to the running game more than they go to the pass. So I think Ohio State will cover this game. We always say, well, Ohio State cover this game, they only win by 2 touchdowns, then they blow the team out. But I honestly think that this game will be a lot closer than people think. But in the end, I just think Ohio State will just have too much.
So you think they cover the 14.5?
I think they cover it, yeah.
Okay. All right, Mason, you're up. This is one of the team that you picked before the season. So
Yes, sir. I'm going Ohio State. I think their offense is going to be a lot to handle. Their defense is one of the better ones that Penn State has seen all year. But I'm going Ohio State to cover. I think Ohio State covers pretty easily after the first half.
I mean, Penn State is usually a tough place to play.
It is a really tough place to play, especially when they do their whiteouts and their night games. But
Right.
I think Ohio State has too many weapons to let this game be close at the end. I'm thinking they cover pretty easily.
Okay. Drink local BM. What
time is this game
one?
at?
It's a noon game, 12 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Penn State keeps it inside the number, but nope, Ohio State. They cover.
You're picking them to cover?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's about a 25-point victory.
I really like what Penn State has done so far this season. Yes, they did have a couple of close calls. One of them was the very first game of the year against Purdue. But Sean Clifford did deliver a late game drive that was almost perfect and won the game. And I really like the way Clifford has played this year. Now, having said all that, it is Ohio State, and their offense is just, I mean, minus Tennessee, I think it's the two top. I mean, I don't think there's anybody else, Ohio State and Tennessee, that could even claim that they have possibly one of the best offensive in the country, but minus them two teams. So as much as I want to say I think Penn State would at least cover this spread, I think you guys are right. I think Ohio State probably wins this by 20 by the end of the game. I don't know that it'll be a 20-point game the entire game, but I'm going to say that they probably win this by 20 at the end. So I'm going to go with you. We're not doing too many differences so far, but the next game we're going to talk about is SEC Arkansas at Auburn. And Hammonds, do you know the spread on this game?
3.5 Arkansas.
3.5 Arkansas. All right.
This is a tough game to pick. I'll be honest, because
it is kind of a tough game.
Arkansas is probably a little bit better than Auburn, but they're at home. Arkansas's defense is suspect, but so is Auburn's.
Well, Auburn has played a little better lately.
They have, and Arkansas has. I think they're clearly better on offensive. And both of these teams are coming off a bye week, so I don't really know what's going to happen in this game. The biggest thing, can Auburn avoid turnovers? That's the biggest thing for me. I think Auburn will move the football. I think they'll do what they did against Ole Miss. But will that be enough? I just think KJ Jefferson's the difference in this game. They got Jackson Dart. They struggled to stop some of his runs the last time they played Ole Miss. And this week's a bigger challenge because you're trying to defend a guy that's 6'3", 242 pounds.
Right.
So, and he leads the Razorbacks in rushing last year. And I think he's the second runner behind Raheem Sanders, who leads the SEC in rushing yards.
Oh yeah.
The number 2 runner, yeah.
Right.
So, I don't know how to pick this game, but I will say this. Arkansas covers, but this will be a shootout. I don't expect if this is a game that you want to see a defensive struggle, I don't think you're going to be watching that. I think you're going to see a lot of offenses moving up and down the field.
Well, I mean, Auburn, at least the last time out, scored 34. So, but minus that, they've been struggling to get in the end zone. So,
I don't think they will this week. Arkansas's deep secondary is not the best.
right. All right. So you got Arkansas to cover, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Mason, what do you think about this game?
This is one of the harder ones I've had to pick.
It is a hard game to pick. This one is, I think.
Really is. I'm going to go Auburn, though. I like the battle and the heart of the team that I've seen at the, the game before.
The Ole Miss game.
Ole Miss game, the turnovers and stuff. They still fought back and came back. I'm going to go Auburn just for the heart of it.
All right. Well, Drink Local Beham's right in the heart of this game, so he is an Auburn fan. So let's see where he goes with this one.
And I'll be there too.
Yeah, you going to the game?
I will be.
All right, go. Cool.
So
You might have to give us a video or something
maybe
that we can
I
post
will.
or something.
Yep. So this game, y'all have mentioned just about everything I was going to talk about on this game. So it is that you have Auburn's defense has become a lot more suspect as of late. They've given up multiple 200 to 250 yard rushing games, lately.
Ole Miss does have the best rushing offense in the SEC. So
Ole Miss had 3 100-yard rushers against Auburn last
right,
week. Arkansas runs the ball more than Ole Miss does. Doesn't really look good for Auburn that Arkansas does that, and Auburn's defensive line, which was supposed to be the strength of the team, is now very suspect.
right.
On the flip side, Auburn started running the ball very well, at
Yeah, they're
least
using
against Ole
Tank a
Miss.
little more.
Yeah, and they figured out something with the offensive line to at least be able to get something off the ball, get a little push so that Tank can, not be hit point 0.4 yards after getting the ball in his hands. But the biggest downside to Arkansas's defense is defending the pass, which Auburn doesn't really have an elite passer right now. So I mean, I honestly while I would love to pick Auburn, the head coach that was the last several years up until last year came as an Arkansas coordinator, and for whatever reason got up for the Arkansas game and decided that he wanted to just absolutely pound Arkansas. But that coach is no longer at Auburn, so I don't really believe in this game anymore. So it's gonna be Arkansas.
All right. So, you know, I'm with you on this. It's really hard for me. I know I lived in Alabama for a while. I have quite a few Auburn fans who are friends of mine. I actually know a whole family that every one of their kids, I know their son right now is part of the marching band, goes to all the football games, and all that kind of stuff. So um, I know Jordan Hare is usually a tough place to play. I'm not with Arkansas's running game and KJ Jefferson. I just can't go against Arkansas. I'm gonna have to pick Arkansas in this game to cover. What was it? 3.5? Is that what you said?
3.5. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to look like those games with Houston Nutt as the coach and Matt Jones as the quarterback.
So that's where I'm at with it. I mean,
That's what it's going to look like.
I just can't do it with the running game and KJ Jefferson, Rocket Sanders and KJ Jefferson. I just can't do it. So I'm going to go Arkansas. Now the next game we're going to talk about is Oklahoma at Iowa State.
1.5.
One and a
It's
half.
moved down from 2.5 to 1.5, so it's going to be a pick'em game before it's over.
Yeah, is this 1.5 for Iowa State?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Honestly, I figured Iowa State might be favored at home, to be honest. But
Well, Mason, I hate to bust your bubble, but this is my upset pick of the week.
It's not an upset if it's just one.
Well, to me it is because the
It's
team,
not.
it's a favorite. I always look at it that way, but the Cyclones have the best defense in the Big 12,
they do.
and I think they're more equipped to slow Oklahoma down. But Iowa State's offense is what worries me in this game. But at the same time, Oklahoma's defense is not real good either. So I'm gonna say that Iowa State wins and covers.
All right. Well, Mason, I'm going
to
throw
that 1.5. Covers that 1.5. They'll win. Yeah.
Mason, I'm going to throw it to you, but as I throw it to you, I'm going to tell everybody that you are going to the game, and we're going to do like a Facebook Live with some fans and some interaction around 10 a.m. local time. So anybody that's listening, if you want to join that, we are going to do that on Saturday before the game. Little tailgating.
Yes, sir. For me, it comes down to, let's look at the history. Oklahoma is 77-7 versus Iowa State. Oklahoma's not having a good year. They're starting some red shirts on defense this week that have proven themselves to Venables. I'm going to go with my Sooners on this one. Just out of, I don't know what you want to call it.
The best recipe for a bad defense is playing an offense that struggled all year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We got some freshmen starting over some seniors this week.
Right. Which I haven't quit on Brent Venables. I think
you can't quit on him. He doesn't have any of his recruits. There's no way to quit on him yet.
He don't, and it's just been an okay year for Oklahoma. I mean, getting to a bowl game in his first season would be a win, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
That's
easily.
Funny. You said okay year for Oklahoma.
This has been a horrible year for Oklahoma.
Well, I wouldn't say okay. I just say horrible.
It is okay. It's Oklahoma.
It's not okay. Yeah, Oklahoma doesn't look and play the way that they have. However,
Oklahoma doesn't go into weeks 8?
4
with 3 losses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unheard of. But I'm going with my Sooners. Eric Gray's getting his stuff going. He's number 3 yard per carry in the nation, I believe, from last that I've seen.
Yep.
So I'm going with my Sooners. We got some new pieces on defense that are going to be starting. The only thing that gave us hiccups was Purdy as the Iowa State's quarterback, and they got a new quarterback. I think he might be a little bit flustered.
I'll tell you about this. These games right here between Iowa State and Oklahoma, the last couple of times they played, have been really good football games.
Well, Iowa State doesn't get blown out. That's what I've been telling people all year.
Never.
They do not get blown out.
They got
unless it's against Iowa.
They got the defense to hang in games.
Right.
Yeah, and I just think if it comes down to a shootout with Gabriel healthy, Eric Gray healthy, Marvin Mims is healthy, I'm taking my Oklahoma
Stoops
team.
is still there, right?
Oh yeah, Stoops is still there. He
Yeah.
hasn't been utilized as much with the RPO that we've been running the screens
Right.
with Levy's offense, but
He's just
when
one
it
of those
comes
tough
down to it, I
guys.
just don't think the Iowa State can sit around and bang. I mean, if they want, they can if they want to, but they just make too many turnovers. And as long as you lock down Xavier Hutchinson of Iowa State, they don't really have another threat.
All right. Drink local Beham. It's your time to chime in. What do you think on this game?
I think they're going to ride the wave of momentum. I'm going with Boomer Sooner.
Oh my gosh, you're going Oklahoma?
That sounds good coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, man, I can't believe it.
Crimson and
If you've
cream.
listened to our podcast this year, he's been very against Oklahoma and their defense. That's all
But
I'm going to
yet
say.
I have picked them the last 2 weeks, and I have won last week.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. I think
Woo-hoo.
Mason coming on board is like changed your tune or something. I'm not sure.
He's afraid he's
No.
getting.
I picked the right week. I had a feeling.
I picked Auburn. He's got to give me one.
It came to me in a dream.
A dream, he said.
All right, so I had been picking Oklahoma each and every week, and then for 3 straight weeks they crapped their pants. And
Pick Iowa State so we win.
yeah, and so I jumped off of Oklahoma because they were making me look bad. So now Mason's telling me to stay on Iowa State because I was picking them and they were losing their. So anyway, God, I want to pick Oklahoma, but I'm gonna stay off of them at least one more week, and I'm picking Iowa State to cover, and that
I appreciate it.
And that ought to make Mason happy.
Thank you. You
It
jumped
really
on.
does.
You
I'm
jumped on my
celebrating.
bandwagon. You jumped on my bandwagon.
Yep.
Woohoo.
All right, so we're gonna stay in the Big 12, and this game is Oklahoma State at Kansas State.
It's 1.5 Kansas State.
Okay.
And I'll say this about this game. Who's been put through the ringer more the last 2 weeks than Oklahoma State?
Oklahoma State's played a pretty tough
They
schedule.
play some hard games, man.
They have.
And Manhattan is a really difficult place to play, especially when Kansas State's really good. But
And Martinez has been playing well.
yeah, and he's not healthy. I just think I'm gonna take Oklahoma State. I picked them to win the Big 12 conference, and I think after last year losing to Baylor, I think this is Mike Gundy's best team that he's had. He's got the quarterback in Spencer Sanders. The defense, I think, is getting a little bit better. I mean, they're still giving up a lot of points, but they're getting better. And I just don't think without Adrian Martinez, I don't think Kansas State can score enough to keep up with Oklahoma
State. Is he not going to be able to play?
That's the word right now, that he might not play,
Okay.
or he won't play.
Right.
So I just don't think they have enough offense to score and keep up with Oklahoma State. But I do pick Oklahoma State to cover.
Okay.
The 1.5.
Right.
So.
All right, Mason. This is your forte, the Big 12. So what do you say on this one?
No Martinez. I'm going Oklahoma State. If Martinez does play, though, that'll be a little bit of a game changer, but
Yeah, it'd be a different game, yeah.
It'll be a lot different game because you have Deuce Vaughn and Martinez you have to worry about. And Oklahoma State isn't very good at defending the option, in my opinion, from what I've seen. But, so no Martinez. I'm going Oklahoma State. But if Martinez does play, I'm picking Kansas State. So I can't.
Right.
That's my stipulation of this game. I don't want to be held on one thing. If Martinez plays, I'm going K-State. If he doesn't play, as it is now, I'm taking Oklahoma State through the ringer.
Okay. Drink local Beham, you're up.
Both Oklahoma And Oklahoma State, former Auburn defensive coordinators as their defensive coordinator. Both defenses have been suspect.
Atrocious.
Here we go.
Oklahoma State's defense has played better at times the last couple of weeks, but they're still giving up a lot of yardage.
That's where Derek Mason is, right? The old Vandy coach?
Yes.
Yeah.
Derek Mason is the defensive coordinator for the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
Right.
Cowboys are going to win the game. So
Well,
picking the Cowboys.
all right. I mean, you know, I'm with Mason. No Martinez, I'm picking Oklahoma State pretty easily, I think, in this game.
With him, though, you got to deal with him plus Deuce Vaughn, like Mason said, and
Right.
those two.
With him, if he's healthy enough to be effective, then I think it would be a different game.
And if I'm not mistaken, ain't Martinez the only quarterback in the country that's not throwing an interception?
Yes.
You are right, sir.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive considering how he looked at Nebraska. He's a total different quarterback.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's having an absolute stellar of a season. That's what I meant, when I first mentioned his name early in this. But without him, I'm easily picking Oklahoma State, even though it's at Kansas State. I just think Oklahoma State has that good of a team, offense at least. So that's where I'm going to go. Now we're going to go to the SEC for a few games. We got a little run here on SEC games.
I think he was wanting to say something vocal.
Yeah, under the previous head coach, Kansas State would have been. I would have picked it just for the weirdness, because weird stuff happens in Manhattan,
Right.
especially when they're like semi all right. And really, what would happen is they would play that game down to where you take a high flying offense, and that game would be like a 17-14 football game, and you gotta try to win it,
Grinding
with
it
a
out.
field goal at the end of the game.
Right.
Kansas State
That's
plays
what
any
they would
team
do.
with Oklahoma in their name. The best game of their year,
Yeah,
usually. So
yeah.
Yeah.
But I like I said, I'm gonna still pick Oklahoma State, but it's one of those where I always like the weird, and that is one of those. It's screaming it's going to be one of these upside down games.
Right.
But I think that if all I'm having to do is get through a 1.5 point spread, I think Oklahoma State just ultimately wins the game.
All right. Well, like I said, we're going to go to the SEC, have a little run on SEC games. The first game we're going to talk about is Florida and Georgia.
Georgia's a 22.5-point favorite. But here's my question. Is Georgia really 3 touchdowns better than the Gators?
yes,
I think so, yes.
Well, the reason I say that is because Georgia's 4-3 against the spread this year. And I feel like this could be a game where they could have a trap game looking ahead to Tennessee.
Well, I mean,
I'm
it's
not saying the Gators are going to win, but I think this is a game that you need to keep an eye on, especially, with Anthony Richardson, because he's the type of player that could make some plays with his feet against the Georgia defense that is not as good as it was last year.
I agree with that. Let's note that this game is in Jacksonville. It's not at either home. So
I think I'm going to take Florida in the points.
Maybe for the last time. Might be.
yeah,
Might
it could
be
be.
there
I
for
think this
either
is
the
the
last
last
time or
year
next.
under that contract, right?
I think next year is the last year, but there's a possibility that they kind of nix it before the end of the contract. I think next year is the last year of it.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to take Florida in the points.
You're taking Florida to cover?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I just think
you said it was 22.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I just don't think, Georgia's the same team they was last year. Granted, yeah, they got a better offense, but their defense at times has been a little suspect. They had that game against, who was it early in the season? Was it Kent State?
Yes.
Yeah, I think maybe it
Kent
was.
State and Kent State put up some numbers. And
Yeah.
It was Kent State and then back to back with Missouri
if
Missouri.
Kent
Yeah.
State
when they did
if
that.
Kent State can move the ball, what can Florida do with the running game that they got and with Anthony Richardson running the ball? So, but the problem is Florida's defense is not real good. Now their front four is decent, but their back end is,
Well, they have one good safety.
they do, and
Dean.
Trey Dean's
Yeah.
good, but he's looked silly at times. Even in the Kentucky game, he didn't play real good. And not even the Kentucky game, LSU, he looked bad at times. So it's the consistency on defense that worries me about Florida, because this is a type of game that if Georgia gets out to a big lead, Florida's not going to be able to make a comeback because of the way they play defense. So I think this is a rivalry game too. So it's always close early on as well.
It is. All right. He's picking Florida to cover the point spread. Mason, what do you got?
Well, I think Georgia needs a game to put themselves out ahead. I mean, they're ranked number 1. You need to have something to prove that you're number 1, and I think this might be the game, especially with the struggles on defense that they've had, like Hammonds has mentioned. I think Georgia wins, and I think that they win it quite heavily in the second half. I think going into halftime it might look like a really good game, but I'm taking Georgia in the points on this one.
All right. Drink local Beham.
So I think the head coach for Florida, whether it's time at Louisiana or in Florida, has covered anytime he has been a heavy dog,
Right.
especially facing top or ranked opponents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that will happen again. He will cover. He won't win, but he will cover in Jacksonville there.
Okay.
So I'm going Georgia wins, but Florida covers.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
I think 22.5 is a big spread in this game. I mean, like Hammond said, this is a big rivalry game. They so big that, it has its own name for this game. And they don't even play it at each other's home stadium. It's half and half. There'll be 50% Florida fans there and 50% Georgia fans there. And they do that. They've been doing that for years now. I'm not exactly sure how many, but 20,
I
25.
think since 1933 they have played it twice on the home campuses.
Right. They played it a few times. I remember a couple or one or two that they played.
There's two of them. Once in Athens, once in Gainesville, I believe, that they've
Right.
played it. But since 1933,
It's
it,
always been,
it
yeah. And
it's always been
this game has its own name,
yeah.
right?
And the only reason why they didn't play it in Jacksonville was because they were renovating the stadium uh, for the incoming
Yeah. And that
Jacksonville
was like in the
Jaguars
90s
when they
sometime.
yes, it was like in the early mid 90s
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
when the Jaguars were an expansion team.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that. It was like maybe 93 or 94, 95, something like that.
It's one of those 2 years. So it's like 93, 94
Right.
were the 2 years that they did not play in Jacksonville, that they played them on campus.
On campus. Right.
Yep. And then other than that, it's been.
So, I mean, this game is a huge rivalry game between the two teams. You rarely see a spread like 22.5 points in this game. I just, I'm kind of with you guys about the spread, but at the same time, I really think that Georgia's that much better. So I'm going to pick Georgia to cover this spread, even though I think it could go the other way. It is kind of right on that line, I think. But I'm going to pick them to cover and see what happens with that. So the next game we're
Just so
going to
we
talk about is
hold on,
Kentucky.
hold on.
All right.
Before we go any further, Vodtech was up 21-3. They are now down 22-21. Just
Wow.
so you are aware.
Okay. So NC State's made a comeback, huh?
Yes, they have.
All right. So the next game we're going to talk about is Kentucky at Tennessee. Hammonds. The last spread I seen on this was like 11.5. Is that still the spread? You're not. You're muted if you're trying to talk.
Oh no.
Oh, my bad. It's 11.5, in some places and 12 in others.
Okay.
Um, the Wildcats, they're coming off a bye. I think they have a secondary that's, capable of making things hard on Tennessee. And I think we got, Levis, our quarterback, we have enough to play in a shootout with the Vols. Like last year, we come close to beating them. We had some different breaks go their way, and
If we could have just had it at one defensive stop, we would have beat them.
yeah, we'd have won. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I also think Mark Stoops will come up with some kind of game plan to slow Tennessee down. I just don't think it's going to be enough. Kentucky's had trouble scoring at times. They've had issues protecting Will Levis.
Do you know what the over under is on this game?
61.
Okay.
And, Tennessee's wearing black. They're wearing their alternates. There's
Don't
going to be
get me. Don't even
100,000
get me started
plus.
on that.
There's going to be 100,000 plus. This is probably one of the bigger games of the year, really, in terms of hate wise. Both teams, both fans, they all hate each other. And at this point,
You think? I
I,
think I'll be honest with you. Alabama and Tennessee hate each other, but I think Kentucky and Tennessee hate each other
oh, they
worse.
do. And what would make this whole year for a lot of UK fans is if they go down there and they upset Tennessee and ruin their whole season. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't be so much, a loss would hurt them. It would be the fact that they lost to Kentucky. And but at the end of the day, I just don't think that's going to happen. I just, I think Kentucky's good. I just don't think they can they're going to be able to stop what Tennessee brings offensively. So I picked Tennessee to cover the spread, the 12 points.
Okay. All right. I'm Mr. Kentucky fan, so I'm gonna hold you to that one. All right, Mason. What do you say about this game?
Hammond's mentioned a trap game earlier in the night.
Yeah.
I don't think this is it. I got two words for you, Brad. Rocky Top. And the black uniforms, the jack-o'-lanterns.
Mason, you know I hate that.
That's the only reason I said it, but I'm going Tennessee with this one. I don't think if you go Kentucky, it's just straight out of bias, in my opinion. I just don't think Kentucky can. I think they might be able to slow them down initially, but I don't think in the end they're going to be able to stop them.
I got you, Mason. Now I'm gonna mute you. All right, drink local mayhem. What do you say about this game?
I think we all think that Kentucky had a pretty good season, but this time I'm gonna pick Tennessee, and next time we pick Kentucky and we go full regalia. Tennessee.
All right, so everybody thinks Tennessee's covering, huh? All right. So this game, I'm with Hammonds. I know everybody wants to talk about the Tennessee-Alabama game, and it was a huge game. It was a huge game for Tennessee fans just simply because it's been 16 years since they had won against them. And that's why you saw them storm the field and throw the goalpost, take it out of the stadium, and throw it in the river. So this game, Tennessee has the top offense in the country. They also are in the top 5 of, I think it's plays, the amount of plays that they run in the in a game. And Kentucky has a top 10 passing defense, a top 14 overall defense. And I think that it's just going to be, and their pace is the slowest pace out of 131 teams. They are ranked 131st in pace of offense for the whole season. So
Yes.
this
Slowest
game
team versus the fastest team.
Yes, they are the fast. Tennessee's the fastest, and Kentucky is the slowest in pace and how they run their offense. And you put that with Kentucky's defense, and I'm going to say that Kentucky has a chance in this game. I think that I'm not saying they're going to win it. I'm just saying I think they could be there, and I think Kentucky could have a chance.
Just say Rocky Top already.
And I also think,
Rocky Top.
oh God, I'm going to mute you if you don't stop it. I also think that there's a chance that this game is under on the over-under. And that's saying something with Tennessee's offense. But here's what I'm going to do. If the points are 12, I'm just not going to take Tennessee to cover. I'm going to take Kentucky to cover the 12 points. That's what I'm going to do.
Of course you will.
That's what I'm going to do.
You should be muted.
Oh.
I second that motion.
I can't listen, guys. I can't do it any other. That's the best I can do for that game. Okay, I can't do it any better than that. So, kiss it. All right, the next game we're going to talk about is Ole Miss at Texas A&M. And man, alive, what is going on? What is going on at Texas A&M?
It's a shit show, to be honest with you.
God Almighty! Seriously, what is going on at Texas A&M?
And Ole Miss
They're setting up for an epic game against Auburn. That's what they're doing.
Well, and Ole Miss is only favored by 1.5, and that kind of surprises me a little bit.
Well, I think everybody. It's Kyle Field. Texas A&M's usually hard to beat there.
That's not what's so surprising. It's the fact that the Aggies' run defense ranks 102nd nationally in yards allowed per carry, and they're going up against a really good run-first team and Junkins and Evans. And I just don't trust Texas A&M to move the football against a pretty good Rebels defense. Now, they gave up quite a bit of yardage to Auburn, but at the same time, Texas A&M's offense is atrocious. And right now, there's a lot of vibes in College Station. It's not
they're
good.
suspending players this week.
Suspending players. They're,
their
everything
coach is going on rants about recruiting.
Yeah, it's just a bad. It's just
And
a
he's had the
bad.
number one recruiting class ever last year, and like he's acting like that.
Well,
That,
Ole Miss
Smoke
is
them
the
if you
better.
got them.
Ole Miss is the better team right here.
seriously.
But at the same time, road environments are a lot harder to win against, especially in the SEC. And Ole Miss, you know, I don't know how to pick this game, to be honest with you, but I think A&M could find a way to muck this game up in the fourth quarter. Last week they spotted South Carolina 17 points in 5 minutes,
Right.
and they almost won the football game. So I think I'm gonna go Ole Miss, and they'll cover. And this is a part where it gets tricky. If A&M loses this game, they might not even make a bowl.
They're 3-4 right now, right? That's their record, 3-4.
Yeah. And if they don't win this game, it's going to be 10 to even get to a bowl game. And if they even get to a bowl game, they're probably looking at Birmingham.
Against Auburn?
Yeah, it'll be
Again?
Texas A&M.
Oh my God.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
What? We got to play a rematch? Oh.
That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay. Auburn and Texas A&M are both in the Birmingham Bowl.
Let's get it together.
Now
All
I'm
right, Mason.
depressed.
Well, he said he couldn't tell you how to pick the game. I can. Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss confidently in this one. I don't think Texas or A&M can lose this game and still not be on a coach's hot seat. But I'm going Ole Miss. I think it's pretty clear who the better team is here.
Texas A&M's a mess.
They are, and they have all those recruits and the NIL deals and everything. And it's like
I know.
people picked them to be in the playoffs. Like, let's stop and
They
talk
were
about
ranked number 6 preseason.
Were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. I think Ole Miss wins, and then I think we hear a lot of buzz about A&M's coaching and some staff changes there, in my opinion.
Right. All right, Drink Local BM. You've cracked me up on the Auburn thing. Who you taking
All
in
right.
this game?
Okay, everybody. You got your brooms ready?
Yeah.
Because it's a mess.
Yes, it is.
Texas A&M, it's a mess. And I'm here to clean it up.
Well, you're going to have to pay like 80 million or something to get him out of there.
Or just reallocate some of that money to an actual offensive coordinator. Look.
All right, so that means you're taking Ole Miss, right?
Everything's good. Everything's good except get somebody else to call the plays.
That's true.
And I bet you.
But will Jimbo give that up?
No.
I don't think he will either.
Will Gus Malzahn ever run a different offense? No.
Nope.
Right.
Gus. See, what people don't understand about Gus, and I kept trying to tell people, they were like, well, if he just adapted this and did, and I was like, but Gus wrote a book. He wrote a book on the hurry up no huddle. He ain't changing it.
Right.
So Jimbo Fisher ain't changing. So I mean,
So you're
unless you
taking
can
Ole Miss,
figure out
right?
a way. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's a clean sweep across the board. I'm taking Ole Miss as well. I'm taking Lane Kiffin against this mess of Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, and I think it's an easily picked game, like Mason said. So that's where I'm going. We're going back to the Big 12 for the next game. It's Baylor at Texas Tech. What's this game spread?
2.5 favorite Texas Tech.
All right.
I like Texas Tech in this game. I think Texas Tech's going to have to stop Richard Reese. They're going to have to keep him in check. And if they can't do that, I think Baylor's capable of winning this game pretty easily. But I'm rolling with Raider Nation this week. And I think Joey McGuire will be 1-0 against his former guy and Dave Aranda. I think they cover.
Okay. Mason?
I'm going to go Texas Tech on this one. I think Aranda, in my opinion, got handed a gold mine, did great, and now we're going to see if he was the hire or not.
Right.
Well,
Baylor.
and another thing, too, McGuire, he was the tight ends coach for Baylor in 17-18. He was defensive end coach in 19. I think he was the outside linebackers coach in 2021. So he knows Baylor quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. But Baylor's still back to their old ways. Their starting quarterback got
They're
pulled.
having a rough season.
I think every year with Baylor, I see a backup quarterback come in, do great, flourish, and then the next year it's the original starter that starts again.
Right.
Can we get the third quarterback to go to Auburn?
Well, maybe. I'm just saying, Baylor every single year, in my opinion, they have a great quarterback. He has a struggle or he gets minorly injured. The backup comes in, does great. They ride him. They eat 3 or 4 losses. And then the next year, they restart the same quarterback. So I don't know. Baylor had a great team last year.
They did. Won the Big 12.
But I think he was handed it. Aranda has to get the recruits and has to get everything in place for them to be back to where they were. Granted, they went from what? What'd they go from 2-10, 3-9, 1 year?
Yeah.
Just atrocious to being in the Big 12 championship. So there's potential in Waco, but I'm not quite sure.
All right. Drink local Beham. What do you say on this one?
I'm going Texas Tech here. Yep, Texas Tech.
All right. So in the beginning of the season, I probably would have said Baylor in this game. But after watching Texas Tech a couple of times, I watched them against Texas at home. And the way they came back against Texas and won that game, this was about 3 weeks ago now, something like that. I just, Texas Tech plays a lot better at home. And because of that, I'm going to pick the Red Raiders in this game. And then we're going to go to the Big Ten. We got Michigan State at Michigan. And I think I know where everybody's going to go with this game. But Hammonds, what's the spread?
It's 21.5, I believe.
21.5. Early in the season, or preseason, I guess I should say, most people would have thought this
No,
was
I'm
going to
wrong.
be.
It's 23.
Most
It
people,
moved up.
yeah, most people would have thought this would have been a really good game, probably.
Well, and considering how both of them hate each other, how Devin Bush, what was it, last year he stomped on the middle of the field,
Yeah,
caused a ruckus, and this is one of them games where you look at it and you think, oh boy, will this be another one of those Michigan State performances against Michigan, that defies all logic.
right.
And,
It is a rivalry game, so,
I think the Spartans will be hot early on in the game. Michigan secondary can be thrown against, but it's up to Peyton Thorne to do that. And they just haven't been consistent. The defense hasn't been there. So I'm going to go Michigan. I don't think they cover, but I think it'll be closer than people expect.
so you
I
think
think
Michigan
I think
wins, but they
Michigan.
don't cover.
I don't think they cover. I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Okay. Mason, what say you?
Give me Michigan. Easiest pick of the night for me.
You going to pick them to cover?
Yeah.
All right. Drink local Beham. What say you on this one?
So, if this game were in the other stadium, Michigan State, I would have reservations on picking what I'm about to pick. But here, I just don't. I won't even really think twice about it. Give me the maize and blue.
Right. And you're going to take the points, right?
Oh yeah, give me all of them.
All right. Well, you know, I'm kind of with you, Drink Local BHAM, on this one. I mean, with the game being at Michigan, at the big house, I mean, Michigan State's defense is atrocious.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's atrocious. And with the game being at the big house, I know that Michigan has struggled a little bit on offense. They have a top 5 defense. They're number 5 in the country on defense. And, you know, and that's losing some really great players last year to the NFL. So Hutchinson and stuff last year. So, and they're still top 5. Um, I'm going to have to pick Michigan and pick them to cover in this game. I just don't see Michigan State putting up that much of a fight. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm going to pick. And the last game we're going to talk about is a game in the SEC. It's Missouri at South Carolina. South Carolina has entered the top 25. They're 5-2, and beat Kentucky and beat Texas A&M. Now, Hammonds, what's the spread in this game?
It's 3.5, South Carolina. You know, South Carolina is doing things that I didn't think they would be able to do. You know, they're just finding ways to win. You know, they beat Kentucky. They come in and they beat Texas A&M. You know, Spencer Rattler it's not always pretty, but he hits throws here and there, and you know, the D has been pretty solid against the run. A lot of breaking, bend and don't break stuff. So I think the passing game will be a lot better than it was against Texas A&M because
Tough place to play at South Carolina too.
it is, and you know, I think there'll be some turnovers in this game on both sides, but I think the home team will win that battle. And I think, you know, at the same time, South Carolina doesn't generate a much of a pass rush, but you know, at the same time, Missouri's not really good offensively. So, and Missouri's defense is really good. It's good on third downs. Ever since they lost 40-12 to Kansas State, they should have. What was the one? They should have beat Auburn. So, you know, there's hope there for Eli Drinkwitz and this team to win this game, but I just don't think they'll be able to do it this weekend. And I think South Carolina moves to 6-2. And I'm telling you, the opportunity to go 8-2 before they play Tennessee.
Right.
Because they play, I think it's Missouri this week. Is it Vanderbilt? I think it's Vanderbilt the following week. Yeah, it's Vanderbilt, and then they play at Florida, which still that'll be a tough game, but there's a chance they can win all 3 of those.
Right.
So I'm going to take South Carolina. I think they'll win by a touchdown, and I think they'll cover the spread.
All right, Mason, what do you say on this game?
I'm going with shake, rattler, and roll.
I kind of knew you might say something about Rattler.
Yeah, I'm going shake, rattler, and roll, and I got him covering by a little bit of more than that. So
Okay. Well, Drink Local BM. It's your turn on this game.
Give me Beamer ball all night.
All right. Beamer ball, huh?
Yeah. Give me Sandstorm.
All right. Now I'll give you the Sandstorm. I'm a big Metallica fan, so it's one of the
That's
best.
not Metallica.
It's one of the best pregame entrances and stuff.
Not Metallica. You're thinking of Virginia Tech.
Oh, it is Virginia Tech that does that.
That would be Enter Sandman.
Yes.
Different song, different everything.
I was thinking Virginia Tech. You're right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, give me Sandstorm. That's more techno though, not
Yes,
Metallica.
yes, it is. You're right. I was thinking Virginia Tech. My bad. You're totally right. I was. So, South Carolina is one of those teams to me that is, they're hard to jump on board if you ask me. They did handle Texas A&M last week. Texas A&M is a mess, and they beat Kentucky without Levis. And I think that probably would have been a different outcome at home for Kentucky if Levis was playing. So yes, they're 5-2. Two of their games that they've won is questionable to me. Having said that, they are tough to beat at home. Their crowd is crazy and they have a great home atmosphere. And I'm not sold on Missouri or Eli Drinkwitz. So I'm going to pick South Carolina, and I think they do have a chance of being 6-2. And that would be one heck of a start for Shane Beamer, Spencer Rattler, Mason, and the Gamecocks. So that's what I'm going to go with in this one too. So, but I do have some reservations about South Carolina. So that's where I'm going to leave it. So that's our 12 games for the week. When we get off of here, John, do you want to do a Facebook Live real quick?
Yeah, we can do that.
Excuse me. All right.
I'll be there in the comments since I can't join.
Okay.
He's on house arrest.
Yeah, he's on probation.
I'm on Facebook probation for making an Alabama fan mad.
Gosh.
Oh, Lord.
You do get visiting hours though, don't you?
I wish I did. I'd use them now.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a Facebook Live and do our keyword and give you guys a chance to enter in to win the Final Four tickets in Houston in April 2023. So if y'all jump on Facebook Live, it's going to be right after. So anyways, we're going to wrap this up. That's our Game Day Pick'em for week 9. And it's always fun to kind of hang out with you guys and do this. So we will do the tailgating live with Mason at the game for the Oklahoma-Iowa State game on Saturday morning. I think we're planning on doing it about 10 a.m.
That was me talking to the dog. I was saying go to bed.
All right. Well, I think we're doing it about 10 a.m. Saturday morning.
Yes,
That's
sir.
Central Standard Time.
And then, Utah and Washington State is on right now battling it out. Utah just recovered a muff punt, so just a game to watch.
Right. All right. Speaking of that, today starts between NFL and college football. There's 27 straight days of football starting today.
Man,
Action.
you're cackling
Gonna
right
get
now.
gonna get that 2-week action. There's Tuesday night action.
Yep.
Brad's mic's going in and out.
There's
Yeah, yours
27
was
days
too.
of football starting tonight. Straight days between college and pro. So y'all catch all the